When a woman is told that she's being empowered to do something, she feels that is the person who is on her side. No man fights to be equal to the other man, but instead, every man fights to become better than the other. Leaders want to separate women from men because of that logical aspect of the men. When men stay put in the families, there is logic and order in the families. I'm yet to find a man fighting to be equal to a sister. But all along we have seen our sisters fighting to be like men. So I had to dig down deep again. Where did all this struggle begin? So welcome all as we delve deep into this issue of the fight for gender equity and equality, what it all means in our society, the positivity that this term comes with, and the negativity that the same term could be bringing into our society. We shall be looking at it in three dimensions, that is in cultural perspective or traditional ways. We shall also be considering it in a religious way, and we shall be considering it in common sense way. It's just common sense. The term itself is so strange to us as Africans because yes, it's an English term. So I had to Google it out and see what it really means. So in simple definition, equity or gender equality simply means equal sharing of opportunities. In whichever angle dimension we'll be able to describe this, I know you will find the concept. So come with us as we delve deep into this, but just enjoy yourself. In case you are viewing us for the very first time, dear viewer, it's my kind request and humble request that do us a favor by subscribing to the channel. Also like to our channel because that is the way YouTube evaluates to know that yes, people love the content that we are putting out there. Because when we were being raised up by our fathers and our mothers, we never got to realize these differences until some few years back. The funny thing is that this fight for equality of resources and opportunities in life only comes when people are grown up. Because when we were young, the roles were distinct. Nobody was forced to take up a role, but men were encouraged to realize what is it that comes with the manhood. The same applied to our sisters. They were encouraged because in the African setup and even in ancient times, women were always the flowers of the society. They represented the beauty, they represented the resilience that comes with the tenderness. Being a woman was never interpreted as being weak. Even in their passiveness, they are very strong. The first question that we will be asking ourselves is, what are these resources that should be distributed equally between the genders? And why should the resources be distributed in between the genders so as to promote this term of gender equity? I want to use this palm of mine as an example because looking at a man and how a man is formed, some call it creation, some call it evolution, whichever way. But just looking at a man, you realize that no organ in a man's body resembles the other. Not even your feet, not your eyes, everything is totally different. Considering this palm, we have 5 fingers on my palm. They are all different, yet they all serve a common purpose. When one fails, the whole hand fails. So when one calls for its own opportunity and its own resource so that it can cut itself off, then it disables the whole system here. Whatever this thumb here plays on this hand of mine is so different from what this small finger does. And so very different from this middle finger, what it does. The term comes around and can only apply when there are resources and there are opportunities. Now when I talk about opportunities and resources, for those who improvised or came up with the term have what we are talking about, the resources and the opportunities. When we go back to the Western culture or Western countries, European countries, they are developed. And this term only came up when there were these resources and opportunities that we are talking about. The job opportunities and the resources that comes with this, having been built and been structured together. But these resources and opportunities are there in existence as we speak today. So when a woman stands up and a man stands up, such that they claim to share in these resources and opportunities, it is something that is understandable. Something funny is that you realize that even with all this struggle, the opportunities and resources were created by one gender, masculine gender, the man. The building of the railways, the building of putting together the structures, the mines to mine, the oil rigs. Talk about all the physical resources that we may think about, the building and the construction, the innovation of aeroplanes, the cars and the industries and the companies. All these were done by men, and they were put there by men. Now the good thing is that even with the absence of these men, the systems are running. And so both the male and the female can take part in managing of these resources. But still, it doesn't make sense that people have to do it 50-50 so as to bring about happiness and joy that comes with it. Women are good at playing the supportive roles in the society. When we were growing up, people selected their roles and opportunities naturally. Nobody was compelled to do something for the sake of equality. When we went to school, we were educated. I was born in a family of 8, 3 girls, 5 boys. All of us went to school. All of us had an opportunity at home. But we all had different chores we could handle. Young men were encouraged to wake up early in the morning, go to the field, to plow with oxen. Young ladies, our sisters, even as old as they were, because we came second after the sisters. The sisters came first, and then the men came down on the bottom list. But in all this still, as young as we were to our sisters, we were the people who woke up early in the night to go and plow the field because we were young men in the family. That was the responsibility and duty that our parents were teaching us. And now, our sisters had also a duty to do that, but they were not forced to wake up in the middle of the night, to go walk and toil in the night and the darkness. Our fathers were encouraging us to appreciate the masculinity that we were born in with. We were born with, which is a very, very beautiful thing. Now when we go back to the West, our brothers laid down the foundation for everything to work. But what opportunities do we have in Africa? Because we are good in embracing systems and culture, foreign traditions. We don't have functioning systems in our African culture. Dear sisters, dear brothers, it would be better that our sisters, just the way our sisters in the West had to wait until the brothers laid down the systems in order before they stood up and started claiming for equality and gender equity. Even with this, there is no equality. No man have I witnessed, not even one, fighting to be equal to women. I'm yet to find a man fighting to be equal to a sister. But all along we have seen our sisters fighting to be like men. So I had to dig down deep again. Where did all this struggle begin? Because it was never with us. Could it be that desire of never getting satisfied because there is so much negative things that comes up whenever we separate ourselves than when we hold together? When a man goes out to toil, he toils for the community, he toils for the family, he toils for the husband, for the wife, for the children, and lastly, he does it for himself. So he comes last on his toil of list. But when the woman toils, she only toils for herself in most cases. And if much is required of her, then she does for the family. So why do we keep on fighting for all this gender equity thing that we are hearing? And who is benefiting from this term equality? Definitely, it's not our sisters. Definitely, it's not our daughters. Definitely, it's not our mothers. But the system which is propagating for all this gender equity. Just to bring about confusion in the family, because when we are equal, it means there's no order. There's no order in the society. For those who are Christians, because I know that there are so many people who are embracing theists and people who can't identify themselves with anything as we speak today. But to those who constitute the biggest chunk, who go to church, who read the Bible, who read the Quran, the Muslims as well, we know the order of things. We know how God does not love competition. Whoever designed the system, if at all he wanted everything to be the same and equal, probably this hand will be having 5 equal fingers on it. Probably the legs will be having the same functions as the eyes. But we read of him who designed the system that he never loves competition. He never loves to be compared to anything else. And so he designed in his own image and likeness, he designed man and gave him laws. The same laws are the laws which he shared. Bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. When did this term equality come into existence, and who first fought for female empowerment and equality? So I realized that it was our first mother. And what were the benefits, or what was she fighting for? Because she had everything to celebrate. We read from the books of Genesis that after Adam had given instruction to the wife that this is what God has instructed us to feed of this and never to touch this. For the moment we do touch this, we surely die. But because of that curiosity of her sister, she goes further to wanting to inquire more. Maybe what I've been told is not true. The same applies to us in our every other day's life. When you have that one that you think is the bone of your bones and flesh of your flesh, then she gets to understand you to a certain level such that she sees that you are not growing anymore. The same way Eve saw in Adam. She thought, this man is not adventurous enough. So I need to learn more so that I can teach him. And as nature is, our sisters always want to learn from those who are above them. So we read of the serpent as being one of the most subtle and cunning creatures, very clever and genius of all the animals. That is what women want in the society, to learn from those who are superior and very genius and clever more than themselves. So the woman approaches the most genius and clever of the animals, the serpent. And he tells the serpent that God has given us this instruction through my man Adam, that we should not touch this tree. The serpent said, no. That man that has told you this is not true. And it all starts when she starts hearing the strange voices. Just the same way our first mother lacked her way and got to listen to the serpent. So the serpent tells Eve that the moment you do this, God knows that your eyes will open and you will be like him. The part of being like him is what I want to come out. Another description of the word like is being equal to. So Eve desires to be equal to God because now she thinks she's even above Adam, who is so faithful and honest to the orders that has been given to him by God. So she wants to learn more and even go instruct Adam. The Bible says when Eve took of that fruit, nothing happened to her until she took the fruit to the man to whom the law had been given. That is when his eyes opened and Eve's eyes opened. What does this tell us? For those of us who purport to be Christians, the law has been given to someone, one person, and this one person needs to guard this law with all his might and strength and teach the same to the family. How many times have we fought over our families? I personally, I can instruct my children, she comes and does it otherwise. It doesn't start with her, it started with somebody else, and it has lived through the generation. The same is happening today when our sisters are fighting for equality, even with us Africans. Yes, we have resources, but we haven't turned these resources into meaningful resources yet. So how can we purport to want to be equal to the other when we don't have even that capacity of creating the same resources and opportunities? Ladies and gentlemen, brothers, especially to our dear sisters, there are so many dangers that comes when we fight for this term equality. The people that are pushing for this term equality, they themselves don't even practice it. For our leaders who are out there who are championing for this, they know what they are doing, because when a woman is told that she's being empowered to do something, she feels that is the person who is on her side. So what the leaders do, they come preach to you this term equality because the masses are the poor. Those who vote the leaders in, they are the masses who are the poor. So the few leaders want to take advantage of your ignorance for you to feel as if you are being empowered, but you ain't. What the leaders are doing is to bring a rift in between the family by fishing the woman from that logical being who is the man and pushing aside the man so that the system of the day continues to manipulate the families and the nation. And that is what we are seeing today when we talk about equality. It's not practical. Let me point out some few points because I've been able to list here some dangers that comes with equality. I've been able to mention some in my talks and even in this talk, because when we fight for equality, let's take for example what our government today is fighting for. We have a rift, and it's not the first one, a rift between the president and his vice president. Why do you think we have this rift? The answer is obvious. They are fighting for equal resources. And when they are fighting for equal resources, we who have been incited to think that there's that chance of ever getting to get equal resources, now are the people who are suffering, because while they are suffering, there's nothing that they are delivering to us as common Kenyans. It's not the first time. A president can never be equal to a vice president, and vice versa. The moment we start fighting for this equality, because not even equality cannot even be applied between men, the same gender. So how can we purport to be having to make it that female and male can be equal? Resources will never be equal. If anything be told, and if truth be told, no man fights to be equal to the other man, but instead, every man fights to become better than the other. It's only our sisters who fight to be equal to men. But do you have the muscles even to match that? Do you have that resilience to match that? Do you have the patience to hold on to the pain? Yes, some of you argue in the perspective that a woman cannot be able to hold the pains of and the punches of pregnancy. That is natural. We are talking about the long term. So when we talk about equality and the differences, please let us just embrace this. We have the dangers, and I've noted them like 5. When we fight for equality, we separate families, as I've just put it across. Leaders want to separate women from men because of that logical aspect of the men. When men stay put in the families, there is logic and order in the families. But when the family has no head, when the family has no man in that situation, there's no order in the family. It's like a church without Christ. It's like church without God in the family. I always say the Father is the God of the family. And I always keep on using the example of the Heavenly Father that we do pray to, and the earthly Father, the same duty and responsibility that God has given unto us. So when leaders begin preaching this aspect of equality in families, it's because they want to break the order in the family and separate the logic from emotions, such that the family is left to be led by emotions. We all know our sisters are emotional. Secondly, a lack of authority brings confusion, as I've just put it. Young men want to learn from their fathers. And when this equality now of resources from outside comes to the family, such that the woman wants to have a title deed, the man as well wants to have a title deed. In most cases, all this has been created by the same man, but the woman wants a share of herself under her name. It brings confusion. And in the long run, it as well breaks the family. Once she gets what belongs to her, it becomes the story of that prodigal son. You go with your loot, it crashes, you start all over again. So there is never growth. I've used that analogy of the president and the vice president to bring about the confusion that comes and the confusion that we're experiencing even today. Because we have a helper naturally. This term helper has become very, very bad term to the ears of our sisters. But it's practical in every way. They know they need the help. They know they need the protection. They know they need the guidance. But somehow the system has just coded them not to believe in the truth and reality of life, even when they are affected themselves. Fourth, it brings about poverty, because so when you call for what is yours and I give it to you, after I give it to you, now you find no need of being around me because you have already gotten what you wanted from me. You walk away. In most cases, women are walking away with the children. The little resource that they acquired from this man does not grow, but instead starts going down because all the mandate and responsibilities have been left to her. Because even while walking away with the children, she goes with a mind that even with what the husband has remained with, I still have to benefit from that, the alimony. I have to sue him so that he continues feeding us. So when you divide resources, one is not growing and the other one is there, which now the half which has been left behind is being used now to feed this. It brings about stagnation in growth, even in wealth creation. So fight for equality and equal resources in this perspective, I think doesn't even make sense to me. Women are left to struggle all by themselves because men don't want competition. Men never love struggle. It's better for a man to live somewhere in the struts, there in the roof, than to live in an unpeaceful environment. So when the struggle of division of resources and sharing of the resources comes around, men have to pull themselves out and leave the women to struggle. In most cases, we have seen men who have left everything they had to their families and to the women who are bringing problems to them. They would rather now live, instead of now, leave alone subdividing and sharing of resources, they have to leave everything and go start their lives again. Now when everything is left to the woman, the system crashes, and it crashes terribly. So women are left without protection, and children are left vulnerable. Something that just came out like a joke, it has brought about a rift, and now children are left to pay the price. And the woman is left to pay the price as well. It's difficult. I know it's painful, and most of the women won't be happy to even to acknowledge this, but in their secret places, I know, they say what Shade is telling in the tales of Shade are nothing but the truth. When men are forced to be equal to women, it brings confusion of identity even to men, because a man fails to understand and appreciate his masculinity. And as well it happens to the women. They fail to understand their femininity and the beauty and the strength that comes with it. So a man will be forced to lower his standard, such that he works to the level and the strength of a woman. And that is what is hurting our society today. We were not built this way. Men have become so weak because the system has weakened man. The system has made it such that a man is left in the care of the mother, so that this man does not become empowered by those male traits that we all learn when we are surrounded by our fathers and the male figures. So to school, we find women are teaching. 80% of the teachers are women. We come at workplaces, we come to the hospitals. Naturally, this is the sector of our sisters and our mothers. 80% are women in the hospitals. We come to churches and we come back home. There are no men, because the above has separated man from the family. So in that family, there is no logic. But remember, the woman is left to struggle taking care of the son, thinking that she can be able to convert this young man into a man of valor and substance. A man can only learn from a man. A woman is better taught by a woman. Love is only appreciated when there is that opposite gender. So a young lady, your girl, can only learn love, how to be loved and how to be treated well when the father is around. So according to my take, and this is personal, I don't want to force anything to you. I've just tried to put it into the 3-dimensioned. When we talk about considering the cultural aspect of it, which the modern age generation says that it's outdated, the religious side of it, and even the logical side of it, we come to conclusion that equality makes no sense at all. Feel free to comment on our section below. Also suggest us any topic that you wish us to discuss. These are the tales of Shade. Till next time.